Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's time once again for another episode of Health Talks with Dr.Trinh. The one show, maybe the only show that showed you the path to a healthier life, one conversation at a time. And today, well, we're going to have a rather freewheeling conversation, I take it, as we talk with Dr. Trinh and Nurse Laurie Roberts. Welcome, both of you. Dr. Trinh, bring us in.
All right. Good morning, everyone, or whenever you're listening here. And we have my good friend Laurie on, who is a nurse of all trade or jack of all trades, whose name is Roberts, last name. Where are you at, Laurie? It looks like you're in the hospital.
I'm in, basically, I'm working today. So I'm just here briefly.
Yes. Thank you for coming out in between your patients.
Yeah.
So where do you work at? You rattled off 4 or 5 fields you've worked in through your career. Yeah. Give us where you're currently.
So where I currently work, where I've kind of hung out, always base is Mission Hospital, Mission Viejo.
And you work in what area?
I'm working in recovery right now.
Okay. But you've worked in hospice. That's a different field. You've worked in two or three other things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We did, critical care, trauma. I'd always stay in ICU and then branch out and try different things. It's just, it's nice as a nurse, you can try different things.
Right. So why are you drawn to this critical stage, ICU? Intensive care?
I started nursing. I wanted to be labor and delivery is what, a nurse midwife. And then I took a class way back when in like an EMT class. And I'm like, ooh, trauma. I like it.
Trauma. I like it.
Yeah. That hooked me. Yeah. I like blood and guts. Yeah, it's great.
That's got to be the most intense, though. I mean, we did a show a while ago, not on this one, not on Dr. Trin's show, but on somebody else's show, Burnout. Nurses leaving the field, and one of them was a nurse who was in cancer care.
Yeah,
and it got too intense. Too many people are dying. I can't do this every day. I can't come home crying every day. I can't come home feeling sad every day, or I can't just numb myself to the whole thing and then just become a robot.
Right. It does get you. And as you can see, I think because I always branch out and try different things, it breaks up that and helps me to deal with it, I guess. And, we debrief each other, we talk about it, that's helpful. But I've been doing this for 37 years and I had to walk away from ICU. I was like, you know what? I did it. I'm done. And so I'm doing a critical care type job, but I had to leave the ICU and it was time.
What do you say that, Dr. Trinh? Because you still work at, don't you work at ER?
ER,
yeah. Emergency room.
Yeah, but I only do it like, I don't know, once a week. So,
so you get some space between, because I guess it would be exciting because you never know what's coming. I mean, it's critical. It is life or death. And it's, you got to think on your feet and things are changing and all this stuff here. But it's not like you're just in a slow recovery and you see the patient getting better after a surgery or something here. And then they thank you and send you flowers and on to the next one, you bring another one back. Yes, there's some of that, but there's also trauma, drama. Things go wrong, things happen, people die. All of that seems like an intense amount of pressure to put yourself under regularly, whether it's ER or ICU. You're at these intensive things. Do you have a routine to walk away from it? Do you have a way to bring yourself back to reality here, where life is not all life and death every second here? What do you think?
That's something, I think nurses, doctors maybe have hobbies or they distract themselves. Right. Like I'll go home and walk around my yard and do yard work and I can just be no thoughts, and it takes me away from the trauma or, because there's people I remember, you remember, you don't forget.
Right. And
Yeah.
do you just remember the sad ones, or do you remember the happy ones, or both? What sticks in your mind more of?
Oh, both. I have friends that are people that I took care of that have survived aneurysms, brain injuries that are amazingly doing well. Yeah.
Wow.
How does it feel? I mean, how can you be a nurse for 30 something years when you're only 40?
I know, it's so weird. I started when I was,
young,
like 8.
Yeah. Right. Very
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
So,
Yeah. Look at my hair. It wasn't this color when I started.
so here's something interesting, Laurie. Have you met Delaney, one of our tongue out students? I'm sure you've met her multiple.
Yeah, I think so. Or the name's familiar.
Yeah, Delaney Schutz. So you met her multiple times because she often would be out selling stuff, when our tongue out students would sell things.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And, so Delaney's been to Vietnam. So you may have been on a trip with her. She's been to Haiti. She's been to Peru. She's been a lot of places with us. She's been to Israel. She's a new nurse at Mission Hospital.
Oh, I would love to see her. That is so cool.
I will connect you both. So
that's awesome.
And so she has an interesting story. She never was interested in nursing prior to going on our medical missions work.
That's amazing. Yeah.
I think she wanted to be a pilot or something like that. But she's now a new RN at Mission Hospital. I got to introduce you both.
Yeah, for sure.
And it'd be very interesting for 2 tongue out nurses at Mission Hospital.
Yeah. So you've been on how many of the tongue? That's the other obvious connection here. You've been on the tongue out medical missionary work. What brought you to that? Why do that?
Oh, I had already been doing humanitarian, medical trips, and then meeting Dr.Trinh, or not, our paths have crossed from way back when, but it was kind of like, well, we're doing this, and I'm like, okay, I'll go with you. So it's just something I thought, I have time and I have the knowledge, and I'm like, why don't I just give back? And so off I went and doing different things.
How different is it? I can't imagine a bigger contrast. You're in a major hospital with all this technology at your hands.
Yeah.
Anything. Okay, bring the crash cart, bring the special drugs, the giant bazillion-dollar machines and everything else here. We're going to handle everything. And then you're in an orphanage, you're in a leper colony with a bag.
Right. Oh, no, that's amazing. You just see the different, what did I hear this morning? It's like, there's no bias. There's no, when you travel, like you see things that, you don't see here. And so that really brings you to a different mindset. And you see what they have or don't have compared to what we have. And it makes me very grateful when I get home and I'm walking in a big building that's full of equipment. And if I can do something a little bit somewhere else, and I went to Haiti after the earthquake with a group, and boy, I'll tell you what we had to do and MacGyver and make work for what we had there was pretty impressive, and it was very challenging but satisfying that you could help people.
Is it frustrating though when you're there and you say, I wish I had this, if only come out, oh my goodness, if I had one of these, we wouldn't be struggling right now.
You should see some of the things I've created though. It's been pretty cool.
Like what? Give us a story where you had to improvise on the spot here. You had to come up with something. Anything come to mind?
I was in a hospital in Port-au-Prince that I went going back and I was working in. And there was a little boy and we actually had to intubate and put a tube down to help him breathe. And then we had to rig something, and I created this device to hook in there. It was with parts that I could find around.
With
And I
paper
can't even
clips.
yeah, it was amazing. I mean, I was impressed. I'm like, oh, check that out. That's good.
Yeah.
So, and it worked for what we needed at the time.
Anything you bring back and you say, hey guys, you're always complaining we don't have enough money or enough equipment. We did this with a paper clip. We figured out a way to do this.
Yeah,
With a.
It is helpful here because sometimes things, you can make things too. But I think nurses are very creative. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nurses.
I'm gonna have to say bye because I got to get back in there. Okay, sorry, it was so quick. I apologize.
That's okay.
No worries. You got patients to do. We'll chat later.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good. You guys have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
See you, Laurie.
Bye.
Nurses are the unsung heroes in the medical profession. The doctor gets the glory. The nurse gets to clean up and the guts and everything else here and stands behind them. I don't think nurses get enough attention in the medical.
Absolutely, they are heroes. Most of our team in Tongue Out are not doctors. Most of our team are nurses. Mm-hmm. We got a few docs, but the bulk of the team are nurses, and so especially when they're out in the third world country, you see them in action. And taking charge, having compassion, and just loving on the orphans, the lepers, and folks like that.
Because a lot of care is not critical care. It's not, oh my God, I've got to go in and resuscitate your heart or something here. There's some of that clearly, but it's the monitoring them, the holding their hand, the
holistic care.
Yeah, the routine of just being
there. There is the science of medicine, but the science of medicine is not enough. It's one thing to treat an organ, heart disease, kidney disease, but when you talk about ultimate healing, you have to approach it from a holistic perspective.
Right.
And oftentimes it's missing when you have 15 minutes with your patient, right?
Exactly.
And that holistic experience oftentimes is provided.
And I'll give you one more. It's not just the holistic, they're treating the whole patient, but it's where medicine is supposed to be. It's compassion, it's care, it's concern, it's constant attention. It's everything I don't feel we get enough of in modern medicine. I don't get enough of the doctor's attention. I know he or she is concerned for a moment, but they're distracted and they're busy and they're on to the next thing here. I don't have their full attention sometimes, I feel. A nurse, they're there for you. They're there as long as it takes. They don't disappear. When you need somebody, they respond.
Caring is an art, and caring is part of healing, and caring is way beyond writing a prescription.
Yeah, right.
Right, and in my view, nurses are definitely more caring than, it is part of it's why folks go into nursing. They're compassionate. They want to care. They love patients. And we see that in our nurses that come with us on our medical missions trip.
And do they keep the doctors honest? I mean, is it a check system on the doctors? Hey, doctor, you may want to pay attention to this. Hey, doctor, is that really the right? I mean, I know they're not supposed to question the doctor ever, but do they sort of
all the time
hold you accountable and say, is that really, you really want to do this?
Or our nurses will bring up things that we may have missed or we may have not thought about, right? Yeah. Our nurses may bring up just, this patient's vital signs is different. It's changing, right? It's high, it's low, right? Or have you seen this lab result? That thing looks kind of abnormal. So we work as a team, and there's no way physicians can function, without that team of caring nurses.
Well, the physicians come in to do something very specialized, to make a diagnosis, to make a prognosis here, to prescribe something, to do something, and then they're in and out. They don't they don't stay with the patient. They're on to the next one. It's like triage, you know. And the nurse is the one who stays behind. The nurse is the one that continues to give out the care and monitor the situation and hopefully report back and say, Doc, this ain't going right, or how about this, or did you notice this? Yeah,
That's exactly how it works in the hospital. The doc will go rounding on the patients, right? They'll spend a little bit of some time with each patient, and then they're gone. They're off to the next patient. They're off to the next hospital, or they're back in their clinic.
Right.
And so that hospital is truly run by nurses.
What do you think about, has the relationship between doctor and nurse changed through the years? It used to be the doctor was God, nobody questions him, usually him in those days. Is it more collaborative now, or is it still just as top down, you know, don't ask, just hand me the right instrument here?
It should be collaborative. And we know that many nurses are now getting their NP degrees, nurse practitioners.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, a nurse practitioner in the primary care setting can take care of, you know, at least 90% of all primary care concerns and things of that sort. And in the state of California, this year, nurse practitioners can be completely independent of physicians.
Wow. I thought they always had to work under a doctor's oversight or license.
Yeah, not this year. And so nurse practitioners can also get doctorate degrees.
Yeah.
As well.
A doctorate in nursing. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
When did this thing start? Because I've noticed over the last 10, 15 years, maybe mostly with my late father and mother, that more and more they didn't see the doctor, they saw the nurse practitioner.
Yes, shortage of physicians.
Right.
Physicians, especially in the primary care arena, my guess is more physicians are retiring than being replaced in primary care. That's my guess. And then we have the baby boomers who need primary care. Yes. And as a result, there's this huge gap that is increasingly being filled with advanced practitioners, whether it's a nurse practitioner or a physician assistant.
Right. What's the difference between the two? I never quite understand. There's a PA and there's a nurse practitioner. What does?
Well, a nurse practitioner was a prior nurse.
Okay.
Right, who has an RN degree.
Right.
Oftentimes, they've got experience in nursing before they move on to get their NP degree.
And a physician's assistant is what?
It's an additional few years after getting your bachelor's degree to become a physician assistant. The physician assistant requires the supervision of a physician. So there are some regulatory protocols where, you know, the physician needs to sign off on their chart and things of that sort. Right. Whereas a nurse practitioner, at least in California, can now practice independently without that supervision from a doctor.
Because I tell you, even today, the few doctors that I see, in some sense, I feel more comfortable with the physician's assistant or the nurse practitioner. Not that I doubt the doctor, but I don't know the doctor really knows me. But I see the physician's assistant, I see the nurse, they spend more time with me, I develop more relationship. The doctor just breezes in and breezes out. And there's some visits you don't even see the doctor because it's minor, or they're just going to check something or whatever.
You made a very good point that stood out to me. And your point was that I don't know if the doctor knows me. Right. And you're re-echoing the voice of many, especially when the doctor has 15 minutes with you.
Yeah. My late aunt used to say, and my father too, used to say he trusted if the physician's assistant or the nurse practitioner, or whichever one they saw on a regular basis, they developed a relationship with them, and they weren't sure that the doctor would just breeze in and breeze out. They used to say, and I hate to say this, they almost trusted the other people more, not because of knowledge, but because of knowledge of them.
Absolutely. You know, at the Healthy Brain Clinic here, our front office staff, her name is Renee. She is amazing. The way she greets patients, the way she talks to them, she makes them feel like at home
Right.
and comfortable. And so when patients call in, they ask for Renee.
Yeah. Right.
They don't ask for the doctor
Yeah.
or the coordinator or another specialist. They ask for Renee.
I want to know who really knows where as they used to say, the bodies are buried. I want to know they know what's really going on there. They know everything. The doctor, he's off in some other high level world here. What a strange world we've come to here, where we trust the people with lesser degrees, maybe lesser knowledge, but they show more knowledge of us. And that's what I'm trying to say. Does anybody notice this growth? Did he even look at this thing down my throat here? This is what I'm worried about. And the nurse practitioner is the one that, or the physician's assistant, either one is the one that sort of gives you some, okay, all right, yeah.
There is a breakdown of trust in our healthcare system.
I guess so.
Right? I mean, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, you had that relationship with your doctor.
Yes, right.
Or 34 years ago, your doctor came to your home, right? And they knew who you are. They knew your family.
Right.
Today, right? Sometimes you feel like you're in a, I don't know, conveyor belt or.
Right. And I don't know, people say, who is my doctor? I don't have a doctor anymore. I go to, I don't have Kaiser anymore, but I've had Kaiser and other things like that. You just sort of go to the clinic. Well, you all come from Bristol Park, whatever it's called now. I forgot what it's called now.
Memorial Care.
Memorial Care, yeah. And Bristol Park was where I went, and I kind of just saw whoever was up that day. And so they'd look at the thing, because I was there for a service. I've got a cough. I've got a fever. I've got a break. I've got something here. And I was going in, and I don't know why, but it almost felt like they paid more attention to me because they'd never seen me before. Whereas the few times where I've seen them sort of over and over again, oh, you back again? Yeah. And they just sort of default to, you got that cold again, here, take this. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, maybe it's different this year. No, it's the same thing you had last year.
It's interesting. It's interesting that you mentioned going to the doctor as if you were a car going in to get serviced.
That's exactly the way I feel.
So different, right?
Yeah. It's exactly the way I feel. I don't have a special mechanic that knows my car. I know there's some people that do, but I just go to wherever I've gotten good service at a reasonable price. I get in, they treat me well. They feel like I feel somehow, I don't know how they make me feel that they really care and that they're really going to be thorough and check it out. And I get a good result. So I come back again, and I develop a pattern of going to get my car done someplace. And that's kind of what it is. I have a place where I go get my medical care on an as-needed basis. There is no long-range plan. There is no long-range goals or discussions. It's
no
just
prevention talk, I'm sure.
Nothing. Yeah, I come in, what's your problem today? It's this, it's this, it's this. And they show some concern, and they deliver that service. And if I like it, I come back again and again and again. But it doesn't require them. They have some knowledge of me in the charts, but they don't know me. They don't recognize me. We don't chat about anything. I have a better relationship with my banker than I do my doctor, so-called. I don't have a doctor. Yeah.
How sad is that?
Yeah.
That we have made healthcare so corporate.
Yeah.
That you no longer have that special relationship with somebody that you apparently should be taking care of you and making you live longer over your life. You don't have that relationship.
Wow.
And I'm sure you're speaking on behalf of many.
Yeah, I don't have any. Many people I know. Like every year when I sign up for I'm at the age where I get Medicare Advantage, so I sign up for the Medicare Advantage fund. And every time they say, "Well, you sure you don't want to do the regular Medicare because then you can choose your own doctor?" And I'm like, "Choose my doctor. I don't have any." Now, maybe if I had some real specialized problem, if I needed some kind of specialized care, maybe I would have gone and developed some relationship with somebody who administered that. An oncologist or something typically. But I try and stay out of the doctor as much as I can. And when I go, I want to go in, I want to solve the problem, get in and out. It's get my hair. Well, no, I probably have more. I have more relationship with my barber. Yeah, it's probably they know more about me than my doctor
Wow.
does. Yeah, because
Yeah.
we have a discussion while they're cutting my hair. There's a little
Yes,
conversation
yes,
that goes
yes.
on.
You know what's interesting is when I was doing primary care work, I used to refer my patients all the time to a variety of specialists, right? If you have a kidney problem, you go see the kidney doctor. If you have a heart problem, you go see the heart doctor,
Right.
or a neurologist, whatever that specialist is. And one thing I've noticed is this: the patient, and because I've had a really good relationship with my patients, these patients would go to the specialist, and then the specialist would give it a recommendation.
Right.
And then my patients would come back to me and say, Dr. Trinh, what do you think of this recommendation? Do you agree with it? Should I do it?
Mm-hmm.
And in my mind, I'm like, well, there was a reason I sent you to the specialist, because I didn't have that knowledge, right?
Right.
So obviously you should do what the specialists say. But the point was this: the issue was trust.
Exactly.
The patient.
I don't know that person. I know you.
Yeah, that patient went to somebody who was more knowledgeable than me to give that advice, and they still came back to me to ask about it, although I'm the guy with lesser knowledge than the specialist.
Exactly. You're almost saying, why are you asking me? They're the expert. Yeah. Now I'll give you a flip side though. It's a real life case, an anecdotal case here. We're going to switch to dentistry instead of medicine, but it's the same principle. I've seen this apply with my parents, my late parents, and myself and everything. My wife has a tooth break off. So she goes to her dentist. We have some relationship with the dentist. We get our teeth cleaned. We see somebody on a periodic basis, so they know a little bit about us. And this tooth breaks off. They say, well, you got to get a new implant, so let's go to an oral surgeon. And here's who we recommend. She goes. She has a terrible reaction. Her face blows up due to some allergic reaction to whatever they give her. I mean, just hideously, just blows up. And everybody's all concerned. And quite frankly, the oral surgeon, when she's at home, says, oh, we'll give it 24 hours. Let's see what it's like. And she's like, I'm not even sure I can breathe. So we insist to go back there. They're horrified. Yeah, you've had a reaction. Here's the point. I say, now you're going to tell her dentist this, right? Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's what we communicate. We're connected here. He never tells her. And so the next week, the dentist's office foolishly calls her up because she's on a schedule and says, okay, time to have your teeth cleaned. Teeth cleaned. My face is swollen. I just had surgery. Aren't you guys communicating? And I went in and chewed both of them out. And I said, we came here to the dentist. You recommended us to go to this certain person. Right. And because you say they're the best and you have a relationship there. And this relationship is so weak that you don't even communicate that something's bad has gone on. The oral surgeon doesn't follow up to see how she is. And the dentist, because we expected the dentist who we know and care to intercede. And I just said, so then you all wonder why we have no loyalty to any of you. You're just a drive-through. I went and got this, and then you referred me to go down to the next aisle, and he talked to me, and when he's done, and you don't know. And I said, I just want to feel like somebody cares.
Wow.
And they all look embarrassed and gee, we're sorry and everything. I said, but this is too typical. When my late father, he had a doctor that he had a form of blood cancer. He had leukemia, and he developed a really close relationship with his oncologist. And finally, my dad goes in, falls, he has bad brain concussion. That leads to his death. Of course, when he goes to the hospital, the doctor doesn't come see him because the way you guys have all set this up is now your personal physician's out and there's a new physician overseeing you, and they may not be part of the same group or communicate or have visiting privileges or whatever, all this complicated stuff. But my dad's trusted doctor is out and this new doctor is doing. So my dad dies. And a month later, the other doctors, his long-term office calls me and says, hey, we're trying to get a hold of your father. It's time for his next checkup. I said, he died. Wow. And they're like, oh, we're sorry. I thought, that's how much you cared. You didn't see, you weren't really, he felt you were on top of it, and you didn't even know he'd gone in the hospital and died. Nobody told you, and you didn't ask, and nobody, it's just routine, checklist, time for this, and this illusion that somehow there's a connection here. There was no connection there.
Yes, maybe one day you'll be talking to Dr. Chat GTP.
I don't doubt it.
And may be more compassionate.
Exactly, maybe programmed to be more compassionate. I don't doubt it. I'll give you one more since we're on. I'll give you all my grievances out here.
Yes.
So my late aunt had another form of rare cancer called Waldenstrom's. It's a small blood disease. Right, you know about it. Most people don't even know about it. And whereas leukemia kills your white blood cells, this thing killed her red blood cells. So she didn't produce any red blood cells, and so she's always lethargic and weak and run down and everything. And she took this massive shot called Procrit that would artificially force her body to produce red blood cells with all sorts of hideous side effects and stuff, and expensive.
Right.
And so it would last for a while, and then through the years it lasted less and less and less. She had to get them more and more and more. But it's the only thing that kept her alive for 20 years. She was only supposed to diagnose. She was only given 3 years to live, and she lived for 20 years. So that she said this shot kept her alive. So she felt very connected to this doctor, this oncologist who gave her this shot. And he professed to love her and, oh, yeah, you're my favorite patient and everything else. One day she calls me up sobbing. I said, what's the matter? She says, this is what she tells me. I called the doctor to schedule my next Procrit shot. And the nurse came back and said, talk to the doctor. You don't need to come back anymore.
Huh.
I don't need to come back anymore. What, am I cured? No, it's not working anymore here. So what's my alternative? I don't know, but the doctor just says, thanks, after 20 years, you don't need to come back. The doctor doesn't come in. They don't schedule a thing and say, I'm sorry, this is probably the end of our treatment. I don't know what, maybe you should look at hospice, but yeah, we can't help you anymore. They just casually tell her you're done. And she called me, I guess I'm dying. I guess that's it. The only thing that's kept me alive, they're not going to give me anymore here. And I called them up and reamed them. I said, this is how you tell a 20-year patient goodbye? You don't need to come in anymore?
Yeah.
Not from the doctor's mouth, not from, there's no send off, there's no goodbye, there's no thank you, there's no next strategy, there's no other alternative. It's just, we can't help you, so go somewhere else. That's what a car mechanic would do. I can't service this model, go somewhere else. I thought, all of those led me to feel, I guess that's why I don't expect to have a relationship with my doctor, because I've seen at critical moments when these doctors don't seem to care or don't seem to know or don't seem to want to be involved. It is, to me, just a pay for service.
That sacred bond has been lost.
So in my generation, I don't think we expect it. My parents' generation, they demanded it, and they were so disappointed at the end when that bond that they thought was there was an illusion.
Wow. And so the question is, what do we do from here? Where do we go? Because medicine is getting more corporate, not less corporate.
Right.
The days of the doctor who is independent, hanging his shingles out, is gone. Right? Every doctor is with a large health system. Most doctors are now employed by either a health system, a hospital, or whatever, right?
A medical group, or if they are privileged to be a partner in a medical group, they're still administrators, they're still investors, they also own the clinic next door, and they own this and everything. I get the monetary incentives to do this, but they have given up, in my opinion, to most of my generation. This is just anecdotal. Most of us don't think of our doctor. We don't have a doctor. We don't think of them as particularly a source. And when we go in and a doctor tells us something, we go, okay, I'm not sure. My wife, I say this all the time, it frustrates me. She has high blood pressure problems. Doctor gives her a pill. She doesn't take it. I said, did you take it? I took a half today. Why? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I agree. I'm not sure I want a pill. I'm not sure. I don't know if I believe them, really. And they're like, you have no choice. You have high blood. I know. I try some other things, exercise or whatever. She doesn't trust. My parents and mom and everybody else, if the doctor said stand on your head all day, they would try it.
Right.
The doctor's word was God, and they trusted him implicitly. We do not view them as gods. We do not trust them. We want a second opinion. We're not
Right.
sure we agree with them. And it's because we have not developed a relationship of trust and believe and a two-way feeling. I'm there to give them something. They smile and profess to say something, but I never see from them or hear them. They don't come to my parties. They don't. I've never seen a doctor show up at anybody's funeral. My aunt, my mother, my dad, they all had doctors they adored.
Yep.
When it was over, it was over. No, they didn't even send a condolence. They didn't even send a sorry they died. And they saw them for 20 years.
And it reinforces the point that folks or people in general don't care what you know until they know that you care.
Wow, say that again. That's a good way to put it. They don't know.
People don't care what you know until they know that you care.
Yeah.
And
how have doctors and hospitals and everybody else all the way up and down the chain, I say they've lost that believability. I believe they're knowledgeable. I wouldn't be here. I believe they have the capability to help me. I wouldn't be paying to do this otherwise here. I'd go to see a witch doctor or something here. But at the same time, I don't trust them as the absolute answer. I may or may not follow their advice. And I don't think that if I live or die is that important to them. Next. Oh, I'm sorry, we lost Paul. Okay, let's go get another patient here. There isn't much attempt to build a relationship on every level. I don't know why. Partly because I'm not looking for it and they're not offering it. So we've turned into a pay-for-service thing. We've turned into drive-through telemedicine, Chat GPT, go get your car fixed, Jiffy Lube, pull in, they fix it, and you pull out. I don't have any relationship with Jiffy Lube, but I go there to get my car serviced.
How can relationships be built when you got 10 minutes?
That's a big problem.
It is a problem, isn't it? 10 to 15. It's it's a huge problem. I don't know all the answers. I do know that we need to incentivize a system that is not fee for service.
You and I've hit on that many times, and I think that's the truth, because also leads to just what I watched the Republican debates last night, and not that I necessarily agree with any of these people on stage. One of them.
Who do you think won? I didn't see it. Who do you think won? Who do you like? Like, even if you're not Republican, who do you actually
exactly? And I would not vote Republican at this point in time, although I was raised a Republican. I would say I like Chris Christie because I don't like Donald Trump, so he made his whole campaign about that. I think Nikki Haley Sharp, if I was going to take somebody and suggest they pick somebody, I'd say pick her, but she's more of an old style Republican that I felt comfortable with. I would not pick Vivek. He's annoying and just.
How is he annoying? How is he annoying?
Well, even Christie said last night. He said you're the first. He said within 20 minutes of every one of these debates, everybody thinks you're the most annoying guy. He's very cocky. He's very off the cuff. He's got quick, fancy answers. He's very bombastic. He attacks them all. Oh, you're all corrupt, but I'm not. And everything else. And he's Donald Trump. Like he calls people names. He's nasty. I mean, he's clearly modeled his whole campaign on Donald Trump. He says, "I love Donald Trump. He's the greatest president ever." Then why are you running? Then I'll pick Donald Trump if he's so great. I think DeSantis, everybody thought would be Trump without the baggage and the drama, but he has come across. I tell you, his problem is, everybody says it, he doesn't come across as sincere. He has kind of a fake, phony smile. He does,
really?
He's accomplished things that he should talk about and does, but he doesn't come across. He doesn't sell himself. He doesn't.
Does he come across as too politician?
Yeah, he comes.
Too.
Yeah, hi, how are? And he'll say something and then he'll go. Just kind of odd, inappropriate smile. What are you smiling about? That's not funny. So he comes across as too robotic, too uncaring. And politicians, more than anybody, you got to somehow like them or trust them. Trump has developed that passionate following of his base where he jokes, he could literally do anything, including shoot somebody, and they'd still love him and do it. Ronald Reagan had that. Bill Clinton had that. There's a connection with his audience. Kennedy had that. There's certain people that you, and it couldn't be just totally phony. I mean, Kennedy's this lovable Irishman, and he's jumping in bed with everybody every 10 seconds, apparently, in real life. But it's how they convey. Clinton had that. I feel your pain. Reagan certainly had that, the charm and the funniness and everything here. You need.
How do you convey? What are some strategies? Like, how do you connect with those that you love as far as politicians or Reagan? Is it the way they talk? Is it their personality? Do they just look more authentic?
It is an act to a certain degree, but it also, I think, is a concern. Some of these people, Clinton, they used to say, used to drive his staff crazy because he'd get in a conversation with somebody. He's really shaking their hand and talking to them, and they'd say, okay, time to go. And he'd say, no, I want to hear more. And he was always running behind. People, whether you hate it or not, I'll give you a perfect example. Maybe I shouldn't. I think he said this on air, so maybe I'm not calling him up. But Greg Rass, the current mayor of Mission Viejo, a very conservative. He was a colonel in the Marine Corps, and the air thing. This is not a liberal guy, whatever stretch the imagination. But he was assigned at one point in his latter career to be a liaison to the White House. So he got during the Clinton years. So he got to meet Clinton. And he said, always told the story of how his mother hated Clinton. And so one day he invites his mother to the White House. Mom, you can come to the White House. And he's trying to shuffle her around so that they don't bump into Clinton, because he knows his mother going to tell off Clinton and he's going to get fired, and suddenly they come around a corner and there's Bill Clinton, and he walks up with that boyish charm and that feeling that there's nobody in the room but you and him. And he said his mother just melted and said, "Oh, Mr. President, I love you so much." And he's like, "What? What?" There is they can charm the socks off of whatever. I don't know what some good old Southern boys playing. There's something about that. And so I think I'll give you a different example. I saw the late Frank Sinatra perform many, many years ago. And God, honest to truth, when he sang to the audience, he'd look at somebody and you felt he was singing to you. You knew he wasn't, but it was the gaze, it was the connection, it was the persona that he really was there for you. And I think there's a feeling when the doctor walks in and says, "Hi, how are you? Yeah, okay, good to see you. Yeah, what's your problem here?" You're not even listening to me, Doc. Hello, I'm in the room.
You're on the computer
typing. But when they stop and they say, "Sit down," or pull up close to you, so tell me what the problem is. And then listen, they ask some questions, and you're like, wow, this guy really cares. He's really going to think, he's really thinking about this. Have you had this? And they feel like they're all there. They're present in the moment. They're not, yeah. How are you? Okay. My aunt used to say the doctor started typing the notes before he ever even examined her. Yeah, saw Mrs. So-and-so. I think it's a connection. It's a feeling that you're there. It's part of your body chemistry. It's part of your eye glance. It's part of the way you approach them. You don't sit back. It's not cold. It's not analytical. There's a sense of care that you somehow convey in the tone of your voice, the questions you ask, the like we're doing right now. I'm just trying to focus just on you.
I've heard it said that in the world of communication, if you look at total communication, only 7% of that communication is the words we say.
Absolutely.
Is that true?
Absolutely. At least in one-to-one personal communication, I think it's the body language. Like DeSantis, it's been written about. He has this tic. He has this odd. Richard Nixon had lots of tics, the strange things he would do. And you have to overlook those or whatever. When a politician comes across as genuine, and maybe that's baloney, maybe that's all an act, but Bill Clinton's famous line, "I feel your pain." When he was there, when Barack Obama spoke at that AMA church after the horrible shooting there in whatever it was, South Carolina or Georgia or whatever it was, and he broke into song and started singing Amazing Grace. That's there was a connection there. There was something real. People seek that on social media now here all the time. I'm always saying everybody wants the real. They don't want the polish anymore. I spent years trying to get this voice, WMYK, K94, to have that radio voice. That doesn't sell anymore. Real, genuine, authentic. I think it's sometimes admitting you don't know. I think it's vulnerable. I think that you make yourself, you open up, you make yourself vulnerable, you make yourself, you're not aloof, you're not, and
nobody wants the perfect person.
No,
because nobody can reach that status.
Exactly. I want real people, and who really, and I don't need the fancy office and all that stuff here. Sometimes I just need, and it can be very, Bernie Sanders, love him or hate him, comes across as very real. You really think he believes what he says. He's not just.
Yeah, you're right. Whether you like his policy or not, you can tell he's authentic.
He's authentic. Now, it may be baloney. He may be smoking cigars and laughing at everybody and saying, "Oh boy, those hicks, they believed all that stuff here." But I don't think so. I mean, he comes across like he's walked the walk, talked the talk. He's a true believer. He really believes it. And he has this kind of rumpled look. I remember the one doctor I did have a relationship for a long time. I had kind of a rumpled Peter Falk, Columbo kind of look to him here, and that humbleness, that sort of. He didn't come in as the all-knowing expert. He came in as the, what's wrong? Gosh, that's weird. How about this? I don't know. And they kind of say like, I don't know, maybe it could be. And you're like, oh, wow, this guy's we're going to have a real conversation here. Not, yes, okay, that's it. That's obviously a this. Here, take this. Boom, boom, boom. I've seen it a million times. He didn't come across as my dad, just shut up and take this. He came across like a friend, like, God, that's weird. I'm not sure. Have you done this? Have you tried this? Oh, that's not good.
More inquisitive as opposed to looking down on you type conversation.
Yeah. Equal level with me.
Equal.
And somehow cared and concerned. I always tell people, I have business people come in all the time, and I say, you're going to tell me a story in this show, right? Absolutely. And the story they give is, I saw a problem, I found a solution. Here it is. I'm a genius, right? Ta-da! I have all the answers. We figured it out. I said, nobody buys that, because the takeaway is, then you're smart and I'm an idiot. You saw it, I didn't. You came up with the answer, nobody else could. They think that makes them seem all-knowing and all-powerful. One, I don't believe it anymore. We've lost faith in experts and stuff here. There's no humanity to that. And two, I'm intimidated by it. Well, gosh, you're just so smart. I'm just so stupid. I'm so small. You're so big. It's much more humbling. It's much more reality when you see somebody who's big and powerful and they come in and say, I don't know. I'm just like you. I was struggling too. Now I can relate to them. I can connect with them. It's the struggle that we share. So if the doctor's struggling with you to understand it, you feel like they're involved in it. You're riding along with me. If the doctor just instantly comes up with an answer, I'm like, I'm not sure you're really listening. I'm not sure you're really thinking through everything. You're just giving me the automated response. So I think the key to telling stories, if anybody really wants to know, I studied it for years when I studied screenwriting and stuff. It isn't the beginning of the movie. It isn't the end of the movie. It's the middle part, the human struggle. There's a problem. We got to get to the mountain before the bomb goes off. I got to find the girl who I lost. I got to get across the country with my friend. There's some setup to the story, something that's driving the story forward in the beginning.
The struggle.
And then it's the struggle. And when you don't think it can get any worse, it gets worse. And then finally there's a takeaway. Boy meets girl. You defuse the bomb or you don't. But some resolution to it and some takeaway, like the Greeks would say. That's the moral of the story, boys and girls. That's why we've been telling you this tale. Don't play with matches. Don't fly too high. And so the doctor doesn't, if you really want to get people's confidence, tell them a story. Well, that reminds me, I had a patient just like this. I've had the same thing in my life. And suddenly we're relating. You understand because you're sharing a story with me. Stories are the most powerful communication. It goes back to tribal times. Let me tell you how we do things around here, kid. The story of our country, the story of our family, the story of my business. If you can find a common story, you find a
Right.
connection. If
Is it because people remember stories?
I always say it's three things. Yes.
Yeah.
One, I think we remember stories better than we do data. You can give me all the facts, but I forget those. But if you
Mhm.
tell me one story that puts it in perspective, one patient, one example in your life, whatever, I'll never forget that story. I'll relate to it. I'll remember it. And here's the key in this medium, I'll retell it. Oh my goodness,
Mm.
Dr.Trinh, did you ever hear the story of how he started this? It's a
Mm.
great story. And it's a story of struggle and success and inspiration. It's a story that I can instantly remember, that I can relate to. I will retell a story. I will very seldom retell facts. If I do, I get them wrong.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do a series on
I'm such a believer in
communication,
storytelling, and I think it's a lost art.
trust,
Doctors never
storytelling.
tell me a story. They listen, they ask questions, analytical, and they come up with a solution. Problem, solution. Next. Problem, solution. Next. And I'm like, I don't know. Did that really the solution? I don't know. I'm not sure they really understood the problem. I'm not sure really they looked at all the other parts of it here. I'm not sure I believe them. I don't know who they are. I don't know where they came from. Salespeople, what they always tell you, if you're a good salesman, what do you sell first? You sell yourself. If I don't like the salesperson, I'm not buying the car. I'm
Absolutely.
not buying the
Doesn't matter what the
refrigerator.
product is.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what the product is. If you don't like the salesperson, you're just gonna.
And
That's a good point.
and so you have to find some way to connect with them. Oh, you went to Michigan? Oh, so did I. Okay, whatever time was other. The salespeople are great at that, trying to find some way to connect with you, or to tell their story. Well, it's just like I hear what you're saying. I had the same concern when I do this. I wonder about the same things myself. I'm opening up. I'm sharing. We're sharing something about each other, and now there's a connection made. Connections are made. Friends are made. Here's another theory of mine.
Yeah.
How do you make a friend? How do you make a friend?
You look for common.
I say it's common experiences. We both
Yes.
were in the war together. We both went to college together. We both grew up together. We went through something together, and that bonds us.
Yes.
So if I'm not part of your journey, you're on a health journey, you got cancer, you got a problem, you got a heart disease. If you don't, I need to feel like you're in this journey with me. Somehow we're bonding over this shared. That's what brought us together. We're going to work through this. We're both going to talk about it. I'm going to get back to you. I thought about what you said last time. I went home and I looked it up. Wow, they cared enough to look it up. Somehow they're conveying to you, I'm invested in this. I'm with you on this journey.
Absolutely. You mentioned something that another thing that stood out to me. You mentioned that if a doctor did this or that, right? If they looked at me in the eyes rather than type and all that, I'll connect with them better.
Right.
And what stood out to me was the word connect, because we all communicate.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody communicates, but few connect.
Few.
And how do you connect, right? How do you become that few? How do you improve those connections rather than just communicating? How do you connect?
I say it starts with body language and that feeling of I'm looking at you, I'm here for you, I'm present, I'm in the moment, I'm right now. There's nobody else. You got 100% of my attention. I think it's not just problem and solution, it's journey. How do you feel? Well, are you worried about this? Are you, I'm not sure I know the answer to this. I'm not going to pretend. We need to look into this. Have you thought about this? It's a dialogue. It's not a lecture.
Right.
It's not a problem and answer. It's not a call and response.
Yes.
It's not a
I
problem.
love that. I love that because everyone tunes out in lectures,
Yeah.
but when you have a dialogue, they tune in because they're engaged.
That's what we try and do in the show. We try and have a dialogue. We don't have just people come and tell us their 5 tips for success, their 3 theories about this. We question and say, really? What? Why? And then hopefully you get them to open up. And then I think the other key is to drop the veil and be vulnerable. I know nothing about any of the doctors I see. I don't know if they're married. I don't know if they have kids. I don't know if they're happy, if they're sad, if they like to fish or whatever. I know nothing about them. They're just a faceless person who serves me McDonald's, who I don't even see the mechanic who works on my car. They take it in and they come back and say the mechanic said this.
Wow.
And yet I like it when the few times, here's another one, when the mechanic brings me in. I did this at a car dealership recently. They sent me a video as they're working. They sent me a TikTok video or a text or something. They said, here, we're under here. See, this is what I'm seeing. Look at that right there. There's a little rust there. So I'm just telling you, when we come back, that's why we're looking at that right there. And I thought, wow, okay, I'm involved. We're sharing this together. There's a common experience. I'm looking at it going, okay. But the doctor just comes in and says, it's better when the doctor points it out and says, see this thing right here on the chart?
Mm-hmm.
I worry about that. See this number? It shouldn't be that. And that can be this and this and this and this and this.
Right.
Make me share the journey. Make me feel like you're there just for me for the moment. You're singing just to me. Make me feel like you're involved and you care. Make me feel like I'm involved. This is a journey together, and you're going to think about me after I'm gone. And make me somehow open up and make a connection between us so that we're somehow not just two ships, two people passing in the night here. And that's something you share. Doctors never share anything. It's just question and answer.
Wow. The voice of the patient today in a broken healthcare system.
I think that's what we should call this. I'd love to do more of these or get other people come on, because I think nobody asks us, nobody talks to us. We get surveys. How did you like it? But I think if they really wanted to hear this, I don't know that they're open to hear it. If Memorial Care or Hoag Hospital or any of these big UCI, would they really sit down and hear the voice of the patient panel? I think they'd be shocked by what they say. And it starts with, I don't trust the doctor because I have no connection with the doctor whatsoever.
Wow. I'll send this clip to the leadership. How's that?
Yeah, I think you should. And I'd be happy to talk more to them about it and give them some ideas from our perspective, because we hunger for that. I'm always frustrated. I'll leave with this. We've gone over here, but I'm always frustrated where I feel like I have to figure this out myself.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. And then I'm asking my friends, what do you think? What do you think? Why am I asking them? Because I don't feel connected to nor confident with my doctors. And I don't think they really care. I know they're caring people, but I don't know that they care about me.
I got it. This is a great segment. We're going to make this go viral.
Okay. I love it. Thank you for letting me vent on this thing here. It's a different perspective.
I love it. It's all great. All right. Thanks so much, Paul. We'll chat same bat time next week.
All right. Hang on one second. I'll ask him one quick question afterwards here. Hang on.
Okay.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. The voice of the people on this week's Health Talks with Dr. Trinh. Streaming live from our studios here at the University of California, Irvine's Beall Applied Innovation Center. You talk about talks you could give or talks or workshops you could do. This is